And now let us look at problem 7, which asks us to match the pole zero diagram on the next page with the frequency responses on the page following that. Note that the scale on the frequency response plot is in fractions of pi. So this is in fractions of pi. First, let's look at graph 1. Graph 1, we can see that it reaches peak at around pi over 4. So let's check those graph below to find the graph which reaches peak at around pi over 4. And we can see that graph 1 matches the result, and graph 2 to graph 6 are not right. So we have graph 1 corresponds to graph 1. Now let's look at graph 2. We can see that from graph 2 that it reaches peak at around pi. So let's check the figure. So it needs to reach its peak at pi, and it seems that graph 2 will correspond to graph 4 since graph 4 satisfies the case. Now let's look at graph 3. We can see from graph 3 that it reaches peak at around pi over 2. So let's look at graph below to find which one reaches peak at pi over 2. And graph 5 is the only one that reaches peak at pi over 2. So we have graph 3 corresponds to graph 5. And now let's look at graph 4. We can see that it has only one peak point, and it reaches its peak at around 0. So let's check those graphs below to find the graph which satisfies the condition. We can see from the graph below that graph 2 and graph 6 both satisfies the condition, but we can see that graph 4 only has one peak point, and graph 6 has two peak point, and so we have graph 4 corresponds to graph 2. Now let's look at graph 5. We can see the graph 5 has three peak point, and there aren't that much graphs left below. So we can see that graph 6 is the only one that can correspond to graph 5 since it reaches peak at 0 and its peak at around pi over 4. So we have graph 5 corresponds to graph 6. And since it only have like 6 graphs, we have 5 graphs solved, so graph 6 can only correspond to graph 3. And this problem is a lot easier than homework, so I don't think there's too much to talk about this problem. So that's it for problem 7.